Greetings, you are watching VGM Presents Comics with Mark, and I am your host, Mark Rodriguez. And yes, you can tell with the cool turtle t-shirt and the cool weapon I got from the Halloween store, we're going to talk about Turtles today. And yes, we're going to talk about Turtles as produced by the IDW Comic Books. I want to say IDW Comic Books is a comic book company that's been doing lots of comic books based on existing classic TV shows like Dexter's Lab, the Powerpuff Girls, Ghostbusters, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and of course, the Turtles. And they got two versions of the comic books of the Turtles, actually. They got one that's based on a Nickelodeon cartoon show, and another one that's basically its own all-original thing, which is the bizarre mixture of the Mirage Turtles, kind of like Mirage elements, plus stuff from the old 80s cartoon show, stuff from the 2003 cartoon, and just all new stuff in general. It's a cool new series. And I've been doing blog articles about the comic books for a couple of issues now. But the main thing we're going to talk about in this particular story is a crossover of the Turtles and the Ghostbusters. Yes. The Ghostbusters also have their comic book series in IDW, and their story is kind of based like right after the movie. Basically takes place a little bit after Ghostbusters 2, and the characters are kind of drawn to kind of sort of look like the actors, and the characters do act a bit more like how they did in the movie compared to the old cartoon show. Because, you know, the cartoon, it kind of, you know, kiddified here and there, and this one, they do kind of, I wouldn't say so much adult humor, but it does stay closer to how they acted in the movie, and all the results and all the things, all the, I guess you can say, ramifications of what happened after the first two movies. So it's a pretty cool thing. It's a pretty cool crossover. The only thing that's kind of weird, though, is that the Ghostbusters comic book actually came to an end, while Turtles, of course, keeps going. So in a certain way, this is like a last goodbye to the Ghostbusters, unless they could do like another crossover, or perhaps this crossover will have enough interest that they'll make even more comic books after this. Maybe they'll say, bring back Ghostbusters, they'll make more. Who knows? But anyways, guys, today's check out Turtles and Ghostbusters crossover, issue 1. Okay, so first things off, this comic book does kind of explain a little bit of stuff, you know, of the, I guess, the IDW version of the Ghostbusters and Turtles, so that if you're not familiar with them, you kind of see what's going on. On the Ghostbusters page, they do show a little bit of the main Ghostbusters and Janine, but also Kylie Griffin. If you remember her, she was actually in the Extreme Ghostbusters cartoon, and they did bring her in here. So, of course, if you see her in the comic book, you'll be asking yourself, well, what the hell, who's that? And then for the Turtles side, they also introduce the Turtles and their version of April and Casey, but it also explains a little bit about Kitsune, which is a immortal, like, reincarnated fox spirit thing, their version of Krang, and this Harold guy that likes to make inventions and stuff for Donatello. So it's a good way of introducing a little bit of what's going on. Thousands of years ago, powerful immortals ruled the earth. Then, they mysteriously disappeared. For a time, they inspired myth and legend, but ultimately faded from memory, lost to history, and believed by most to have never have existed at all, never to return again. But really, what does never mean to an immortal? And just some backstory here real quick. Kitsune, like I said before, some kind of weird immortal fox thing. The guy in the middle is actually the IDW version of the Rat King, who also seems to be some kind of like weird immortal Pied Piper thing that's been around. And this other guy here, I do believe is the original Oroku Saki, the Shredder, because this version of the Shredder was also alive back in 16th century Japan, and he was somehow, with the help of Kitsune, resurrected and brought back to modern day. So all three of these people are immortal enemies. Okay, so Kitsune is doing, I guess, you know, magic, evil, magic, whatever stuff, until, I guess, that Shredder or whatever appears. I could sense its power, even an ocean away, and you came straight away to pry into my affairs? I would be certain you are not breaking the agreement. Oh, my dear brother, it's been so long, I'd almost forgotten how much of a slave you can be to your little rules. You brought someone with you. This was not part of our deal. No, my lord, I did not bring him. Treachery! You conspire with demons, a clear breach of our rules. You were to only use mortals as pawns, sister. You forfeit your place in the game, and your soul. Temper, Chi-Yu. I am still playing to the spirit of the rules, if not to the exact letter. Okay, so this other guy, I guess he's not a Rokusaki, it's another guy called Chi-Yu, so I apologize for the past misinformation. They fight it out, and she throws him into this weird vapor mortal whatever thing that is. If you're done wasting my time... Of course, my lord, I apologize for the interruption. Shall we conclude our business before my brother returns? I wouldn't worry about that. There are safeguards on this portal to prevent unwanted incursion. He won't be able to enter my world, nor will he be able to simply turn back. At best, he has been destroyed. At worst, irretrievably lost and aware of every second. A hellish eternal limbo. Something to keep in mind. 100 years later, the Turtles are hanging out with April, Casey, and Harold, and they're trying to use the portal device to stop Krang from eventually creating a Technodrome and invading Earth. So now they're trying to test it out, and Harold throws an apple through the portal, and the portal just makes the apple appear right behind Casey and sock him in the back of the head. So now that the Turtles see that it works, Leo's wondering if that's the only reason they were brought here for. Truth is, Leo, I asked you guys here to help me give this baby a real shakedown. You want us to use this thing? It's perfectly safe. I use it myself. Teleport to the parking lot and back. No problems. I figured just a quick trip to the lair to surprise Master Splinter. Well, guys, shall we? We're seriously going through with this? When in Rome, I guess. Hey, can we use this thing to get us to Rome? I bet their pizzas rule! So the Turtles were supposed to surprise Master Splinter, but thanks to Harold trying to swat a fly, they get warped elsewhere. And now we go to New York City, but not the same New York City. Heads up! Whoops! Missed them. It's okay, Ray. The window looked threatening. Come on, guys. Stay focused. Got him! Quick, Ray! Throw up some support before it gets loose. My pleasure. Egon, are you just going to lay there? I'm collecting data. You know, I bet Al Casey had the same answer to that question. And that's a wrap, boys. Someone help Egon up, huh? He looks like some kind of weird turtle laying on his pack like that. So the Ghostbusters are confused as to why this particular ghost is a lot more stronger than usual, and apparently Ray and Egon have created some kind of machine that will warn them if some big danger is coming their way. And it just so happens that machine does go off, and Kylie and Janine do warn them about it, some kind of big dimensional breach, and so they decide to go to the source of the signal to check it out. The Turtles are getting warped to a church because in the modern day comic books, after they left the sewers and everything, now they live into like this underground abandoned church a little bit out of town, and they're supposed to go there to surprise Splinter, but instead they arrive to an actual church that's full of people in, of course, the Ghostbusters version of New York. I demand that you fix this. What do you want me to do? Exercise it? For that we charge extra. Free. After so long, at last able to exact my revenge on my... Wait, I cannot sense Kitsune's presence. I cannot sense any of my brethren. What new hell is this? And what has happened to me? I feel different, changed, more powerful. Why did we not do the ninja thing and disappear out of here already? Two reasons. First, I recognize the stationery and the windows. This is our church, but I don't think we time shifted like before. I think we're in a different dimension. We've got nowhere to disappear to. Second, we can't just let that thing run amok. We're honor bound to help these people. Mikey, do you have any idea what that floating guy is yelling about? Beats me, dude. Whatever it is he's speaking, it's not Japanese. Oh, how about we take care of this guy instead of just standing around debating? Heads up, Flat Top. Raphael jumps up to attack the spirit, but he goes right through him. What the? More demons, not like the one conspiring me with my sister. Perhaps minions come to recapture me. I don't like how he's looking at us, Leo. Hold your ground. Have I not been held prisoner for long enough? You will not have me again. Taste my newfound power. To make things even worse, the demon zaps Casey, and once Casey gets back up again, my power. I can control these mortals like puppets. Their bodies, their minds, they belong forevermore to Chi-Yu. I bet this Chi-Yu guy learned how to speak English from Casey. You think? I know now that you turtles, you mutants, are responsible for my imprisonment, but I also know you are trying to stop me from taking my rightful place as ruler of this world. So I will use these mortals to tear the flesh from your bones here and now, and save you years of frustration. Just then the door gets blown up and the Ghostbusters show up. Thermal imaging worked like a charm. Looks like nobody was hurt when we blew that wall. Good. We don't need another lawsuit. That's right, Mr. Spooky. You can lock the doors, but you can't lock the walls. The Ghostbusters are here. And apparently so are some kind of Kung Fu Martians. God, sometimes I hate this job. And thus the Turtles and the Ghostbusters are face to face. And now for my thoughts on the comic book, and I gotta say it's a pretty good story. It's a typical thing, basically like the setup of how the characters are going to cross over and how they meet. I mean, so many other comic books that are multi-parters that have some kind of crossover. The big, cliffhanger at the end is the two characters kind of interacting before we go to the rest of the story. So that's what they did here. The last page is basically the Turtles and the Ghostbusters interacting, and then we'll see where it goes from here. And I gotta say that based on the Turtles on the IDW comic book that was currently going on, it does kind of make sense. I mean, the Krang is making a Technodrome, and the Future Toys stole some plans of the portal and stuff. The Turtles been working on it for a while. Harold's been helping him, so it does make sense now in this comic book that they are experimenting with a portal of their own to somehow, of course, stop Krang before he can finish the Technodrome and all that stuff. So it does make sense within what's going on currently in the IDW comic books. And as for the Ghostbusters, we're just chasing ghosts as usual, so I guess it's kind of easy for them to be sucked into this. And yes, so we do have Kitsune and the Rat King with their other brother. I confused them for Rokusaki at first with someone else, but apparently, I guess he was warped back or something, because it seemed to happen with the Turtles too, because they basically appeared at the same time. So something with the, I guess, dimensional rifts, or whatever you want to call it, made them both end up there, but it also made that Chi-Yu person like a ghost, basically. Now he's a demon, he's transparent, he can throw fire, he can control people to be like zombies and possessed and stuff like that. So yeah, so now they got a big thing to face, and of course the Ghostbusters can now help out, and of course the big thing is to see how they're going to interact and everything in the next issue. And yeah, and I also like the idea how, because both series do take place in New York. I mean, a lot of comic book characters all take place in New York. In fact, most of Marvel's main characters are all in New York, you know. So I do like this little thing where like the same church exists in New York, except that in Ghostbusters it's a fully functional church, while in the Turtles version it's like an abandoned church. So I do hope they do kind of do little things like that. Maybe like in the other issues as they go throughout the city, they can compare notes on what's different from this New York to that New York, because that's kind of interesting, because they're both supposed to take place in a modern day New York, not like a, you know, fantasy whatever. So it's kind of interesting about that. And as for the art style, it's pretty good. The Ghostbusters look like how you look like in their own comic book series. Of course, IDW makes both. The Turtles are drawn kind of weird, a little more, I guess, kind of sort of realistic-y, but it's kind of hard to tell because in the IDW comic books, the Turtles' art style does change. I mean, every new story arc, they seem to change the artists, the new artwork. There's like guest comics, guest artists. I mean, the artwork's always changing. The one thing I did find amusing, though, is that the Turtles in this version actually have belt buckles. I mean, they don't have the names on them or anything, but they do have the belt buckles. I wonder if it was just, I guess, for the casual readers can pick it up to better relate to the old 80s version or something, or just a coincidence, just artists having fun. I don't know, but it was kind of good. But anyways, guys, it was a good comic book. It's entertaining. It's a good way to kind of set them up. Like I said, it does make sense, sort of, kind of, you know, within what's happening now with IDW comic books. But the real fun starts next issue to see how the Turtles and the Ghostbusters interact. So anyways, guys, yeah, this is Mark Rodriguez here, VGM Presents Comics with Mark, and yeah, I'll see you all next time. And, well, this one actually got ahead with the comic book. Number 2 is not out just yet, but I do know it's coming soon. If you guys want me to continue with this crossover to discuss number 2 when it does come out, let me know, and I shall cover it. So see you all at the comic book store.